This will work, right? Okay, no worries. It's okay. Hi everyone. How's it going? Gadi Khamba. Khamba Gadi. Ram Ram Sa. That was correct, right? Salam. Sat Sri Akal. Hi everyone. How's it going? Right. So my name is Vansh, and oops. Any full stack developers in the house? JavaScript, Moonstack, Spring Boot. Okay, let's do a competition. JavaScript developers. Spring Boot, Ruby on Rails, PHP. Anyone? PHP. I see a hand over there. Hats off, sir. Right. So we have a pretty huge number over here. So before we just start the presentation, I just want to clear out things. Can anyone tell me the difference between the libraries, the frameworks, and the meta frameworks? Anyone? Anyone want to try? I'll give you a swag. No one? Really? We had breakfast, right? Okay, no worries. So libraries are, okay, please. Your good name? Surinder, please. Right. That is correct. Right. 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 It is a library. Right. 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 Okay, so today you'll get to know about meta frameworks as well. So, just like Surinder said, can we have a huge round of applause for him? Okay, just like Surinder said, libraries are basically, that's something that basically provides you the code. You can modify it according to yourself, right? Frameworks are something that are built on top of your libraries. And the meta frameworks are something that basically includes the batteries as well. So in JavaScript, we talk a lot about the state management, the routing. That's what meta frameworks are. I'm pretty sure we all are familiar with the Next.js. So meta framework, Next.js is one of the examples of the meta frameworks. Right, but the question is this. How many of you recently wrote your code in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Okay, but my next question is, what were your struggles? Anyone would like to display? What were your struggles? Again, Surinder. Right. DOM manipulation is very manual. You don't have any state management. Your SEO optimization is, sorry, your good name? Sorry? Angs. Hi. What would you like to say about, your struggle with the vanilla JavaScript? Correct. Correct. That is correct. Shipping is one of the, disadvantages that you cannot basically debug your code in production unless you have source maps. But that's something we don't want to talk about today. But okay. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Vansh. I am a senior software engineer at Dressma Labs, and I am the organizer of React Delhi. I've been running React Delhi for almost 2 years, 2+ years, I guess. That is my Twitter. I do some shit posting if you want to connect with me. Okay, perfect. Right, so this is our agenda for today. We'll be talking about that framework might be an overkill. So JavaScript has always been fun, Initially, JavaScript, when it was developed back in 1993, it was called Mocha, and then it was named to LiveScript, and then it finally got to rename as JavaScript. And why this ice cream is because it's a vanilla ice cream. It is supposed to be a very plain flavor, nothing on top, just plain thing, How many of you are students over here? Just, give me a who. Woo! Okay, perfect. We have a pretty good amount, okay? So here is a disclaimer over here. JavaScript was actually developed to confuse the HR departments back then, It was basically like Java and JavaScript. Which developer do you want to hire? And the HRs got confused. They wanted to hire Java developers, but they got JavaScript. And this language was actually just developed in 10 days. Yes, the language that most of the frameworks are built on top of, the React, Next.js, Angular, Vue, that was just developed in 10 days. That's pretty funny, right? Okay. So I'm not saying these libraries and frameworks aren't they're very bad, because these frameworks have actually got the libraries like jQuery, React. They were actually meant to make the DOM manipulation very easy, just like Ang said, and they give you the structure out of the box. You have the folder structure. You don't have to define your own structure, and there is productivity again. Developers can just go ahead, just declare things in the CLI, and then just get started with your project. You can technically create a static website in just 2 to 3 hours, right? And with the blessings of AI. And then we also have batteries included in most of the frameworks today. We have the Remix, we have the Next.js that comes along with the state management, routing, and whatnot. And again, the team collaboration, the community is pretty big, with the Next.js, Vercel acquiring like everything, Vercel is basically Vercel, I don't want to talk about that. Okay. And then we also have frameworks that comes with the server-side rendering, hydration, SEO optimization. So again, the libraries and frameworks aren't very evil. So if the libraries are not very evil, they're pretty great, Why bother using vanilla JavaScript? What's the advantage of that? Okay, finally coming to the topic. Right, so this is how web used to look before JavaScript. We only had HTML, and that was the world's first website, cern.ch. Yes, so this website was actually meant for some research purpose from the particle physics. But anyway, this website used to be accessed in the CLI. You can technically access it right now. I think their CLI is expired or something, but their first HTML document is still live. It's just anchor tags or something. I've provided the link over there if you want to check it out later. But okay, this is how web used to look like. But can you guess what's the most important feature of vanilla JavaScript that made it itself introduced? What could it be? Anyone want to try? Anyone? Vanilla JavaScript. Any guesses? Take a guess. Yeah. DOM manipulation. That is correct. What's your name? Hant. Ishita. Okay. Yes, that is the ability to interact with the browser APIs, and DOM manipulation is one of them. Yes, that is correct. That's how it's basically trying to translate the code, to the browser. Okay. So these are the initial releases of JavaScript. Initially, back then when it was released in 1993, it used to have like only variables, functions, if-else loops. It didn't even have try-catch block. Not even switch block. And then JavaScript basically came over here, and we're here in 2025, and JavaScript has actually evolved a lot. Frameworks came, but JavaScript stayed. Okay. And by the way, somewhere over here, right in between 1995 and 1996, that's where the competition, just started getting too tough. Microsoft came along with the Internet Explorer, and there's a whole lot of video if you want to check it out from the channel called Dino. He basically recently posted it. You can basically check it out, and it talks about how JavaScript stayed, and the other frameworks just vanished a lot. And here are common myths about vanilla JavaScript, that you cannot do DOM manipulation. It's pretty complicated, and I'm actually here to tell you why you can actually do it. Scale is, it's very hard to design the code. It's very, it's not very maintainable, and JavaScript does not have multi-page routing. It does have a multi-page routing. I'll tell you how to do it. And poor SEO optimization, you can kind of say that JavaScript, how many of your, SEO experts over here? Anyone who's tried SEO? No? Okay, so actually JavaScript can do SEO optimization, but that will need a separate talk, but I'm just here to tell you. Okay, and then you can actually build reusable UI with the JavaScript, and you also can implement caching with the JavaScript. That's technically the browser's part, but you can still manually do it with the JavaScript as well. And then there is support for server-side rendering. There is templating options. We have like Timeleaf in Spring Boot. We have like Jinja templating in Django and Flask. There's like pretty much that you can do with JavaScript. And again, the most important point: no reactive state management support. JavaScript does have it. Most of your libraries are using it, but JavaScript actually provides it from the native API. I'll tell you how it works. But we will not be talking about everything, because that will just basically extend my talk. But anyway, these are the 4 points that will majorly cover. JavaScript is, you can design, scale, and maintain your code. With vanilla JavaScript, you can easily manipulate DOM. I'll tell you the tricks, tips and tricks. That's why I'm here. And there is routing with vanilla JavaScript. I'll actually show you the proof, how the libraries are actually using vanilla JavaScript behind the scenes, just to manipulate the DOM and do the routing, single page routing, not multi-page routing. And we have the reactive programming, right? Okay, perfect. So the first topic, how to design, scale, and maintain vanilla JavaScript code. Perfect. Okay. Can someone tell me the difference between module.js and common.js? Has anyone, ever really used it? Anyone want to try? Yes, that is correct. So common.js जो basically बना था ना, it was basically introduced by one of the Mozilla का developers, and its main purpose was just to serve the Node.js का application. So if you see the difference, if you have ever written in code in Node.js, you basically use a require statement to import something into your files. And if you have ever written code in React or modern JavaScript, you basically use import statements. That's basically the difference between the common.js and module.js. That basically comes to our first point. You can actually create reusable code with the import or export, or basically the module.js paradigm. And most of the browsers, even the Internet Explorer, that's basically expired right now. The Internet Explorer 9, 10, 11 supports the module.js. And then we have some design patterns. In fact, there is a very great blog from the Free Code Camp. I provided the source over here. I'll just basically share this presentation, and you can just click on that source and basically access that source. And that blog basically tells you about different design patterns along with the JavaScript, the vanilla JavaScript that you can basically use to write your code and maintain the scalable applications. And then we have the web components. Has anyone heard about web components before? Has anyone tried? I see a hand over there. Okay, so web components are something that's basically components are to React, or the JSX to React. So you can pretty much write your component and then basically manipulate it just like you do in the components in React, right? Okay, so you can actually use linters as well. Linters are something that basically tell you about, they're basically something that improves the developer experience. Once you're writing the code, it might give you an error. It might tell you, hey, you missed a semicolon over here. Stuff like that. Hey, you're basically not using camel case in the variables. That's how basically, linters are. You can even use the prettier, that's basically a code formatter, and do not spaghettify your code. Basically, do not create mess in your code. How many of your interns over here? Hats off to you guys. How many of your senior engineers or the senior people over here? I see a few people over here. Double hats off to you, sir. Okay. And why use vanilla JavaScript for DOM manipulation? That's pretty basic topic. You can literally go ahead and access your DOM over here. You just have to this is just pretty much basic stuff. You just have to access the document object, and then you can basically get your element. And this is literally what React does behind the scenes. Okay, and we also have the performance. Vanilla JavaScript, basically there is no compilation, there is no build step. So basically, you're just accessing the native API, the native browser, so it's pretty much fast, okay? And there is less abstraction, since there are very less layers. There is no React in between. There is no Angular in between. You're just directly accessing the DOM. You're just basically directly accessing the native code, and then this is how basically your life cycle and your debugging gets easier. And there is no virtual DOM in between. So DOM elements are pretty much easy to manipulate. Okay, and then you can also have server render page. Just like I said, there is Jinja templating. Back in 2019, I remember I've been writing JavaScript for almost 7 years now. Bless me, God. Okay, so back in 2019, when I first wrote my JavaScript code, I didn't go to React. I actually went for jQuery. I had no idea how React worked. It pretty much looked complicated to me. I even have a certification with jQuery. I mean, who gets a certificate in jQuery, yeah? Okay, perfect. There is routing with vanilla JavaScript. This one I really want to show you. This is how many of you have used React Router DOM over here? and it basically pushes your state to the next page, right? And if you refresh it, it's gone, right? This is what React Router DOM is literally doing. In fact, I'll show you. I'll just need a minute for that. We'll quickly go to github.com, and then we'll go to Remix. That's basically the company that develops and maintains the React Router DOM. And I'll open the React Router, and it's basically renamed to React Router now. You can technically go ahead and open your VS Code in the browser itself, and it's a pretty simple trick. You just have to type 1 and S over there. That's visible at the back, right? Okay, perfect. If you just type 1S over here, let's wait for it to open. Okay, perfect. So this is the React Router's actual code. You can go ahead and study it, but just like I said, there is a push state and history API over here. If I just go ahead and search for history.push state, yes, you can see this is the code that basically providing. Let me just zoom it a bit. So, right, this one, my bad. So this is the actual code that's actually that's actually using the native API. You can technically go ahead and write this code yourself. You don't need the whole library. It's probably like 3 MB or something. I would rather not use it. Okay, perfect. Then we have the reactive programming and state management. Pretty basic stuff. We use states all the time in React. We have the use state, we have the use reducer, and we have the state management tools that are like Redux, Zustand. But here is the catch. State is just a plain JavaScript object. It's just a key value pair. You can technically maintain your own global state at the top of React itself, at the top of your app.jsx itself. This is how basically it works in your vanilla JavaScript. You have the button over here. This is where your toggle button is. You access it, and then you basically go ahead and create a proxy object. Proxy object is something that basically it's more of a wrapper around your plain object, and that's how basically you change the theme for your your whole DOM. Pretty basic stuff. You don't really need a state management tool. Okay, let's talk about some disadvantages of frameworks. We have the sun, we have the neutron star, we have the black hole, and then we have the node modules. Pretty heavy, right? Okay, so the only thing that I don't like about frameworks is this, they actually push you into a certain pattern. You always are going to write the folder structure that they provide. You always are going to write the Next.js structure. You're going to write the app router, the page router. You don't have the, you always have to think outside of the box, right? So that's why I don't prefer these things. There is, again, the blog that I said from the free code camp that basically provides you your design patterns. You can actually study that. And then we have the bloated node modules, I'm not very bulky. And then you also have the build tools. We have the Webpack, the Vite.js. I'm not sure how many of you work with Webpack or Vite.js. So let's say if you have created any application with Vite, it actually gets your ESLint. That's basically an alternative to Webpack. It's a build tool. So every time you push your code to the production, it's basically npm run build, right? That's basically your Webpack or ESLint. You can technically go ahead and just write it with the vanilla JavaScript itself. And then there are no abstractions. There's no hidden layers. You can just technically go ahead and manipulate the vanilla JavaScript. Right. So every time a new framework comes out, this is a small meme that I made. Every time a new framework comes out, and developers are like, "Arey yaar, तड़प ही ऐसी रहा नहीं जाता." Every developer just wants to try it. Okay. So coming to the conclusion of my talk, JavaScript was only meant to manipulate the DOM. And now what we are doing, we're writing the back end, we're writing the front end, we're writing the mobile apps, we're writing the desktop applications using Electron.js, and we also have machine learning in JavaScript. I'm not sure how many of you have worked with TensorFlow.js, but you can actually create a face detection app using the TensorFlow.js itself. I don't know. I would rather not do that. I would rather use just use the C++, the native API to interact, to create an application, something like that. Even Python does it. Python developers don't hate me. Okay. We have a whole OS on JavaScript. You can actually access it on pewter.com. It basically runs on the browser itself. It's basically just, front-end application itself. If you want to, interact with the OS, someone just made it for the fun, but, it's there. And by the way, that was written in jQuery. I love jQuery. Okay, so since these frameworks came out, the React, the, Angular, basically what we, personally what I feel like is what we are doing is we're, rather than improving the user experience, we're just improving the developer experience. We got the functional components, we got the, the React compiler, we got the new reconciler. I'm not gonna use that, to be honest. I really love to, play on the atomic level. That's why I will go with the vanilla JavaScript, just the native API. And then again, if you feel like, JavaScript is hard to write, we have the AI, guys. AI is something that basically provides you the auto-completion code. You just need to understand it, and you don't have to be an engineer today. You have to be a product engineer today. You just need to understand the code. The AI will get it done for you, right? And again, I'm not against any, frameworks or something. I'm not against any React. I'm not against any, Next.js, Angular. You just have to use the right tools. If you're trying to build a single page application, just one basic page, all you need is just vanilla JavaScript. I remember back then in 2018 when I went for my first hackathon, it was just HTML, CSS, not even JavaScript. And I somehow got third place. Oh, bad. Okay, vanilla JavaScript may be boring, but it's fast, lean, and always there for you. The frameworks always, just like I said, the frameworks came, they left, jQuery came, left, Ember.js came, left, but JavaScript has always been there, Okay, there are like some companies that still use vanilla JavaScript in production. This will probably be my last slide. Let me just quickly open it. So you can even see the Netflix, the guys, something that you really watch on every day. Netflix still uses, vanilla JavaScript. I mean, initially it used to have React, but then it switched to vanilla JavaScript, and they really got an improvement of 70% performance. 70% performance. Can you imagine that? GitHub still uses, vanilla JavaScript. They removed jQuery. They had like, web components. Pretty basic stuff. There's Marks and Spencers. Pretty much everyone is basically doing, vanilla. They're basically coming back to the, native APIs. Let me go back to the slides. And then this is you guys. Pehle batana tha na? Okay, perfect. Thank you, everyone. This has been Vansh. Thank you, Shubham. Thank you, React Rajasthan's organizers team. Thank you to you all for coming early in the morning. And hats off to you guys. And if you want to connect to me, that's my QR. And if you're ever in Delhi, React Delhi. You want to go back? Okay, my bad. Okay. Done? Don't worry, I'm here for the whole day. You can technically just connect with me. Okay? Perfect. Thank you, everyone.